All right. Hope everyone is having a good Tuesday. We obviously released the information about Mo Kaba. Heartbreaks for him. Somebody, obviously a fantastic human being, first and foremost, and fantastic player for us. Really hard deal when he tore his ACL last year against Arkansas. And it was tough for us, obviously, to deal with from an emotional standpoint. And kid worked his butt off throughout the offseason, spring practice, was practicing with great energy, and was truly loving being back out there, as you could imagine, smile on his face every day at practice. So really hurt for him, and not wish him well, but we'll wrap our arms around him, and we'll see what the future holds. But I would ask everybody that's affiliated with Gamecock Nation to please think about Mo, because this is tough on him and tough on our football team as well. Other injuries, it was a physical game last week. I would say that Marquis Anderson is doubtful this week. I would say that Nicky Manwari is doubtful this week. I would say that JT Gear is doubtful this week. I would say that David Spalding is doubtful this week. Kason Henry is out this week. And everybody else practiced today and should be good to go. Before we get into Furman, didn't think on a Tuesday I'd be talking about hot dogs, but certainly want to clarify any comments from last Saturday night. The chain crew was not our issue on Saturday night. North Carolina was our issue in the way that we played. The point I was trying to make was that's a really, really critical play to start the second half when you're going to surprise onside kick. And it's disappointing that our kickoff team took the field, UNC's kickoff return team took the field, and then the official comes over, our game management comes over, and I didn't make up the hot dog comment. I was literally told the chain crew was in the locker room eating hot dogs. So this wasn't me trying to be a smart you-know-what. I was relaying the information that was told to me, which is disappointing because that's a play. That's basically another way to ice the kicker, if you will. That's not an easy kick to make, what Mitch did. And I watched Coach Brown's press conference, and he talked in his press conference after the game that they were telling their team to watch out for the onside kick to start the second half. He said he told his team that. So that's an extra timeout for them because the chain crew wasn't out there. And that was the frustrating part with me. You're worried about our players executing it. Now they got longer time to get ready for it, or we do, to think about it. And then also it's an extra timeout for the opponent to be over there to coach their guys up to prevent it. So I certainly was frustrated with that. And that's where that comment came from. Thought the chain crew was phenomenal the rest of the night, other than that one thing. One of the best chain crews I've ever been around. All right, so no hard feelings with the chain crew. That's not why we lost the game. There were a lot of reasons that we didn't perform well. The chain crew wasn't one of them. I was just frustrated. You would hope in an environment like that on national television in a big-time game to start the second half that when the entire football team for the University of North Carolina and the University of South Carolina is out there, that we could get the chain crew out there as well. So enough of that. Again, want to thank the fans. That was an awesome Saturday, awesome weekend. I mean, starting our team on Friday, riding up Interstate 77 on the buses. I mean, it was really cool for our players. Seemed like every car we passed, cars were honking their horns, putting their hands out the window, giving Spurs up signals, signs, and flags and whatnot. Saturday morning, got up and went running, as soon as I woke up, like early in the morning before game day even started, and the streets were just flooded with Gamecock fans. College game day was Gamecock Nation took that over. Our players came in off the field from pregame warmups and heard a bunch of them talking about this is like a home game for us in there because of the crowd and the electricity of Gamecocks in the stadium on Saturday night. And then Saturday afternoon, even just looking outside my hotel window in uptown Charlotte and looking down at the street, all you saw was just garnet and black everywhere outside my window. So want to thank the fans. They were awesome. And I wish we had played a little bit better for them on Saturday night, but we appreciate the environment that they created. And as we continue to recruit great players into this program, as we continue to build and develop this program and taking it to a higher level, as we continue to get our collectives and NIL opportunities for our student athletes here at South Carolina where it needs to be. We're going to continue to play an amazing big-time football games like that, and that won't be the last time that College Game Day is affiliated with the South Carolina football program as we continue to move this thing forward. But we're all in this thing together, and got to keep doing that. Disappointing again, going back. I mean, all the ways that we talk about winning football games around here every single Saturday, we tell our team we got to win the turnover battle. We did. We told them we got to play smart football, which means not many mental errors, and you have less penalties than the opponent. We did. We always say that you have to win the fourth quarter. We did. We always say you have to win the explosive play battle, meaning big runs over 12, passes over 18. We did. We didn't run the ball well enough, and we didn't stop the run. When you get sacked 9 times, that's going to happen. When you don't have any sacks, that's going to happen. And then when you're in the red zone essentially 3 times and you come away with 3 points, that's hard to overcome. But we did a lot of good. I mean, for as ugly as it was, our quarterback guys went 30 of 39 and got sacked 9 times. Now think about that. He went 30 of 39, played his rear end off, and got sacked 9 times. So as we get that cleaned up, we will continue to get better. For sure. You find out a lot about your team in game 1. We certainly learned a lot, but I'm excited about this team, and we have to get better, and we will. Starts this week, has already started when we came in here on Sunday, and then with practice that we had this morning as well. And we have to be a lot better against a really, really good Furman team. Now, if you actually study the game of football and know what you're talking about and watch football, you know this is a hell of a football team coming in here this weekend. And that's not coach speak. Shane's trying to rally the guys on Tuesday. This is a team that has won 8 out of their last 9 games. Their only loss was a 3-point loss in the playoffs last year. This is a team with 18 returning starters. This is a team that every single starter on their offense or defense, except for 2, is a junior, a senior, or a graduate. So these guys have played a lot of football. They are ranked in whatever they are this week in the ranking 6, I think, in the FCS, 6th in the country as well in FCS. They led the nation last year in takeaways. I'm sure you guys knew that. So nobody created more turnovers than their defense did last year. We were pretty good on defense. I think we had 24 that we created last season, and we were second in the SEC. These guys created 29. They had 6 the other night, 6 turnovers in their game. And then they also led the nation in block kicks. So we pride ourselves on playing good special teams around here. They blocked more kicks than anybody in the country last year as well. And then you say, well, that's great and all, but you're an SEC football team. And we are. But these guys also went to Clemson last year, outgained them in total offense. Furman's quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, went 31 of 40 against Clemson last season, rushed for over 100 yards against Clemson, held Clemson to under around 150 yards of rushing, and held Clemson to 7 points in the second half. So they won't be wide-eyed coming in here on Saturday night. So if anybody thinks that's the case and that this is a take-a-breath week, you're sorely mistaken. Us, our team, fans, this is a really good team coming in here, and we need to play really, really well. But confident that we will. We had an awesome practice out there this morning. Much better than what it was last Tuesday. Very spirited, physical, high energy. Our guys hurt. Nobody is more upset about the way we played Saturday night than the people in this building, because our guys, players and coaches, put a lot into Saturday night. Give North Carolina credit. They played really, really well. But our guys are excited for our home opener. It's crazy that it's the first time we've been in that stadium for a home game since Tennessee last year. So you think about it, we were on the road at Clemson, we had the bowl game, and then we were in Charlotte the other night. So it's been three games away from home since we were in there last. So I know our guys are excited to be in there for the home opener, and looking forward to Gamecock Walk and seeing our fans and being able to hopefully go out there and play really, really well against a really good team and really well-coached veteran team this weekend as well. So, questions?
Shane, with the offensive line drawing most of the scrutiny, I mean, today at practice, the first time to get back out there, was there drastic changes in scheme, personnel, or is it just, hey, it was one bad night, let's carry on?
I'd say it's a little bit of everything, David. Certainly with Kaysen's injury, that forces you to change some things schematically. With Marquis Anderson still being out, or not schematically, personnel-wise, with Marquis being out, that forces you to, change some things. And And it's been tough because it's been hard continuity-wise just to get a solid 5. Now we're rotating guys around and mixing and matching because of that to develop depth and have been all preseason. But, Kaysen was a guy that was hurt at the beginning of preseason, and then he practiced the last however couple weeks or whatever, and then now he's hurt again. So it's just tough. You're trying to build continuity across the 5, and that part's been tough. Schematically, I think after a game you have a better idea of who you are and maybe where you may struggle, some things you do well that you see after playing a quality opponent like we did, that you adjust some things schematically, add, tweak, take out, whatever it might be. But then certainly you look at personnel and getting your best 5 on the field. And I know Nick and Vershawn were in here earlier, and they were talking a lot about technique, and that's true. It's true. I mean, give North Carolina credit. They've got a really good defensive line, and people can look at their stats last year. That defensive line, a lot of those guys could have gone anywhere in the country that are playing on the defensive line for them. We recruited a lot of them, and they've got good players, and we've got good players. We didn't play with great technique the other night. What they told you is true. We have to be better technique-wise. We have to be better fundamental-wise, offensively, all across the board. There's no question about it. But I know we got good players on that offensive line, veteran guys and younger guys as well.
On that topic, the question I asked Nick about UNC player saying the tackles were tipping off run pass, and obviously when you have to pass at the end of the game, that's pretty clear. But was there anything throughout the course of the first 3 quarters that y'all noticed that was maybe doing that?
Nah, I mean, that sounds great when guys are able to say that after the game, and you're right. When you have to pass and you're struggling to run the ball, you're thinking pass. We self-scout every game. We talk to, opposing coaches. If we're playing a team that we don't play anytime again in the future, we always do that as well. There were some things last year with Spencer that we felt like teams were picking up on tendency-wise, run pass, that we got corrected. We went back and looked at that. That wasn't an issue. I think if anything, it's just making sure we don't tip anything off with, stances and things like that. But that's universal, The Pop Warner team down the street is telling their guys, hey, if they're in a 3-point stance and they're really heavy on their hand, it's probably run because they're firing off the ball. And if his hand's barely touching the ground, it's probably pass. Or 2-point stance, 3-point stance. You hear that all the time. So nothing that we're really overreacting to. I think you nailed it when you have to throw the football like we did on Saturday night because you're behind and you're struggling to run the ball. I think everybody in the stadium knew that there's going to be a lot of passes, particularly when your quarterback's playing like he was.
Well, credit Nick. He pointed it out before I did. But
what did he do?
He pointed out being down 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, you're going to have to pass.
Oh,
anyway.
It's good. He's a Yale graduate, so there you go.
Much smarter than me. Yeah.
Me.
My other question, was as far as trying to move the pocket or do some things for Spencer to help better protect him when it was clear they were going to be getting to him pretty regularly. Do you feel like y'all could have done more that way to try to help him out, help the line out, and keeping some of that pressure off of him?
Yeah, I think we certainly could have done more. When you get sacked 9 times, you look at it and say there's a lot of things you could have done better. A lot of it, like I said, was technique things. We did have some mental errors, blocking the wrong person, which is, disappointing when that happens. But I feel like the way that we called it and what we did, we did enough to try and help them. And there's only thing you can only do so much. And I felt like we did, going into it. We wanted to move the pocket, change the launch point, get the ball out of his hands quick, do some max protection, chip in defensive ends, whatever it might be, to be able to, keep North Carolina off balance, but be able to help Spencer and move him around. We always do. Spencer, no question, he throws well on the run. We've seen that in other games since he's been here. But certainly when you rush for whatever it was, negative yards, and get sacked 9 times, there's a lot you can do better to help your football team. And that's what I've told the coaches is offense, defense, special teams. We got to do a better job of putting our players in position to be successful. And we know a lot more about our team now after 1 game.
Shane, with Luke Doty, at what point did you guys decide to kind of start repping him in the wide receiver room, and how do you balance sort of his usage there with protecting him as your backup quarterback?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and it is a question for us. There's no question about it. First part of it, the last part first. First part first. you know what I mean? A while ago, he was a guy that, he's got receiver skills. He's very natural at it. He's a really good athlete. And I told Luke when we talked about it, we talked about it a little bit last year, but when we were really committed to it this year, I talked to him and I told him, look, like, you're still our backup quarterback, but you're one of our better football players. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for you to be standing next to me on the field, standing next to me on the sideline for, if we play 70 plays on offense, for 70 plays during games. Let's get you on the field and get you going. You're still, you're still the backup quarterback. You're still a quarterback. But he's awesome. He's smart. For sure. I sit in on those quarterback meetings, so he's able to hear how Dow is coaching the quarterbacks on routes and things like that. But then we're also able to coach him up on the receiver part of it as well. So it's really beneficial for him to be in there with those quarterbacks. Two, he gets time with Tuesday Sep, so he's able to get the receiver part of it as well. And we're going to have to do more of that, just the technique and fundamental part of it, playing receiver, beating press coverage, stuff like that as well. But he's got natural hands, and like I said, he's a really good athlete. He's tough and he's smart. And then the other thing too is he's doing some special teams. I mean, he was on our punt pressure team the other night, so whenever North Carolina punted, Luke was out there as well, and we'll probably continue to emphasize and increase that role also. We do have to be smart because he is a quarterback, and we can't ask him to do too much, but it's something that we really talked about early in preseason camp, and credit Luke to him. And he got reps at it, but it wasn't like it was a ton of reps. And he's playing in there in the slot where AB is and Eddie Lewis is, but it's just a way to create more depth at that receiver position.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about the more positive energy at practice today. Just what did you see from the offensive line group in particular, as they seem pretty eager to try and figure this out, and your faith in them to be able to accomplish that?
Yeah, my faith in the offensive line is high. I thought they were really good today. We face a good defense each day in practice, we feel like, and they're throwing a lot at us. And I thought the whole team came out there with a good temperament about themselves and eagerness to get back out on the field. And nobody feels good about Saturday night as well. Confidence in them is high. We've got good players. I've seen that. This is not me seeking comfort, but the truth is Jalen Nichols was going to be a starting offensive tackle for us. Case and Henry started the game the other night. Both those guys are out right now. We lost 3 starters off last year's offensive line. So we've got a lot of new faces, and it's 5 guys that have to come together and gel, and it just doesn't happen like that, particularly when you have injuries like we've had with Marquis, and Ja'Kai Moore was kind of banged up throughout the summer, so he was limited in what he was able to do early on. So those guys will be fine. I got total confidence in them, total confidence in our offensive line, coaching, everything. So I know everybody right now, they're the easy targets to get, to criticize the offensive line. Well, get your shots in now is what I would tell people. And then when they start playing their ass off as this year goes throughout the season, make sure you're giving them credit too as the year goes on also. Excuse my language. My kids are going to be mad at me now when I get home. So I'm trying to be better with HELL and that as well. So I'm off to a bad start also.
Shane, is there any update on some of the other guys who might have been banged up? Eamon Wari, Juice, guys like that.
Yeah, I thought I said Eamon Wari. I'm sorry if I didn't. I would say Nick is probably doubtful. If you asked him, he would probably say that he's playing. He didn't practice today. So he would need to do something tomorrow for us in practice. We'll see. We meet as a staff at 4 o'clock. I'll have a better idea. But right now I would say Nick is doubtful. Juice was good. I asked him early on in practice, how you feeling? What's your mindset this week? And he said, I'm playing, and don't even try and limit me in practice today, is what essentially he said. AB got hit in the ribs a little bit the other night, but he practiced today and was fine. So I would say all of those guys that did not finish the game the other night or came out of the game for different reasons, all of those guys should be fine. Nobody else missed practice today that I didn't already mention. Thank you.
Shane, you mentioned the offense in the red zone a little bit on Saturday. What do you kind of attribute some of the bogging down to, especially in the second half? Was it play calling? Was it just execution? What do you kind of see there when you watch the film?
Yeah, I wouldn't say play calling. I think it was just execution and penalties. We excuse me. 3 times, like I told you guys on Sunday night, on 3 different possessions, we have a 1st and 10 inside the 22-yard line, and we got 3 points out of that. It's tough. I mean, if you just kick a field goal like we did on the one and then score 2 touchdowns, you're going to overtime at the minimum, and we didn't get that done. So, 1, give North Carolina credit. But 2, you look at it, we had a play where we threw a little perimeter play out there, and we got beat at wide receiver, and their corner, beat our receiver, and we had a tackle for a loss, and you go backwards. That's just, we got beat with poor technique. We had a mental error on the offensive line where we turned their defensive end free, and if we don't, we're getting ready to probably punt the ball to Trey Knox for a touchdown. He's going to be so open in the end zone. Or I think it was Leggett on the corner route on the other side of the field. So that's a mental error. And, we got to be able to win our one-on-ones, make people miss and things like that. But when you get down there and then you go backwards, either because of penalties or negative plays, it's tough to overcome as well. But, I thought the play calling was good and certainly can be better. We all can be better. Execution's got to be better. And, we saw a lot of you guys watched that game last night, and red zone situational football is the story of last night. It certainly hurt us on Saturday night as well, not being able to be better in the red zone. Gene, did you go to bed, or did you come straight from Durham and sleep? Or
Yeah.
Shane, you said the offensive line is going to come around eventually, and indeed, both your first 2 teams here have played a lot better in the second half of the season. But do you have a timetable for when you think that will come around? How much longer do we have to get our shots in?
I didn't say Eugene. I was talking about everybody out there's got a podcast nowadays and stuff like that. So all the people that, want to take shots, that's great. And we deserve it, myself included. I mean, take the shots, but we got good players on the offensive line. I would love to say this Saturday, but I know we got to stay healthy. And right now it's just it's a banged up group when you count Marquis, when he's healthy, it's essentially 3 true freshmen in your 2 deep on the offensive line. And that's in my opinion, Gene, the farther you are away from the ball, it's easier to play as a true freshman. When you're a true freshman right out of high school and you're blocking 300-pound, really talented men on opposing defensive lines like you face at this level of football in this league, it's tough. It really is. But we've got good players. I was in there with the offensive staff before I walked in here, and we were talking about it. I mean, just watching Tree today in practice and watching Trevon today in practice. Those guys, they are getting better. And we told our team on Sunday, right, and I've used this expression with you guys before, it is a race to improve, to your point. Like, we don't have spring practice in the summer and preseason camp. Like, it's here, guys. So make sure that you're doing everything in your power, mentally and physically, when you're in this building and when you're outside this building, to get better, because we need you now. It's an old song, isn't it? Yep, there you go. Pretty good.
Shane, you mentioned the injuries, and there's going to be a large portion of the fan base. They look inside and they say, all right, why weren't they able to figure things out during fall camp? Mm-hmm. And as you know, and I'm not saying to set this up as an excuse, but how much can you learn about your team in that first week, especially from the offensive side with a new offensive coordinator as you now head into week 2?
Yeah. Did not figure these things out, like some of the struggles we had Saturday night, or what are you referring to exactly, Mike? I'm sorry.
Of just being able to move forward to week 2. Like, going into that first game, you have a new offensive coordinator still trying to figure out things. And
yeah.
Things happen. And some people will be like, well, why didn't he know about this? Like, why did they have that?
Yeah. I got you. I mean, I think you're always talking about contingencies and if this happens, how we're going to adjust and things like that. And we meet as a staff every game day and talk about injury situations and scenarios. And Saturday morning when we met in Charlotte, the first thing was, okay, let's talk about the DB play. The one thing that, would really put us in a bind is if we lost Nick or DQ and we lose them in the first play or the first series. And then we talked about the offensive line, and we said, okay, with our youth, the one thing that would really hurt us that we would be tough to overcome would be if Kaysen got hurt, or Kaysen or any of our tackles. How are we going to handle that? So you talk about those things and you try and prepare for them as much as you can in practice and develop depth. But when you're on national stage against a really good defensive line, front seven, like we faced the other night, it is tough. And I know it was hard to watch. I mean, if somebody said to me going into that game that we're going to get sacked 9 times, not have any sacks, that we're going to give up 16 tackles for loss and only have 1, I would have told them they were crazy, because knowing our offensive line, what I'd seen in practice, and knowing our defensive line, what I'd seen in practice, I didn't see that happening. So, I wish I could sit up here and tell you that we were prepared for that, wasn't prepared for that, but then going back and looking at it on the tape, like I said, it wasn't like we're just absolutely getting manhandled. We had some ugly plays, I'll be the first to admit it, but we had some really good plays as well where those guys, offensive line, tight ends, you name it, are coming off the ball. You see receivers blocking on the perimeter. You see defensive backs getting off perimeter blocking. You see, they weren't going to let Drake May get hit and did everything in their power to try and protect him. But we've certainly got to win more one-on-ones and get better as quick as possible. Say it again. That's what I've been saying. Yep. But if not, we certainly got to play better. But we had the same thing. Hold on. I remember last year, we played Georgia State, and all the talk was the offensive line. And I can remember talking to the team the night before we played Arkansas about our offensive line and our belief in the offensive line. And that's with Javon Gwynn and Eric Douglas and Wanham. And but there was a lot of criticism coming out of our offense after the Georgia State game last year, because I think we scored 21 points on offense, and then we had 14 other that came from blocked punts for touchdowns. And we went to Arkansas, scored 30, didn't run the ball great, turned into a passing game. Certainly didn't play well the next week, but then those guys just continued to kind of get better as the year went, and confident we will this year also. And they're a bunch. They're very that's a prideful group, and they want to be great, and they will be.
Kind of going off that, you've talked a lot before about week 1 to week 2 being the biggest improvement for a college football team. How much can you expect to quickly jump in a week versus how much this just has to be a slow burn over the next 3 months?
I would hope there'd be great improvement. I would hope there'd be great improvement with our technique and fundamentals. I know y'all are probably tired of us saying that, but it's true. We need to play with better technique this week, and I would hope there'd be great improvement with our winning the one-on-one competitive plays. We can knock our offensive line all we want. We didn't win enough one-on-ones on the defensive line either. When you have 1 tackle for loss and you have 1 sack, well, that means that UNC blocked your front pretty good, and we didn't have enough guys that got off blocks and made plays. So we've got to be better everywhere as well, and confident we will be as we win more competitive battles, we improve our technique, and then guys, they're gonna get better each week. And these young guys are going to continue to grow up as well as they get experience, without a doubt. I certainly don't want a slow burn, because to me a slow burn is, okay, well, let's just take our time and they gradually get better, and then let's get to November and figure it out. We're trying to do this stuff right now, and trying to force the issue with urgency as quick as possible.
Hey, Shane, another one about practice. You said it was spirited. You like the physicality. Did you go into practice today wanting to take the physicality up a level? And also with your injuries, how do you balance all of that?
Yeah, great question, Rick. Yes, when we practiced, it was the same practice schedule that we had last Tuesday against UNC. It wasn't like we came in here today and said we're going to be more and more physical in this Tuesday's practice. Where last Tuesday it was literally the same schedule, plan, everything. The only thing that we switched from last Tuesday to today was what we call team run, which is first offense versus first defense, and it's just 6 straight runs, and it has to be a run. And then the second offense versus the second defense, and it's 6 straight plays, and we're allowed to throw one pass every 6 plays, but it's team run. We did that, near the beginning of practice today, just to emphasize it a little bit more. But other than that, it was the same practice. But no, we didn't talk about it and say that we need to be. We did say we need to be a lot better than last Tuesday, but it wasn't like we have to be change everything. We just tried to do it a little bit better, and our guys did. But certainly you do balance it, because you are thin, not just on the offensive line. We're thin at defensive back with Mo being out. We're really thin at linebacker. Stone, Debo, and then Pup. And then Bam Scott didn't play last week. He didn't make the trip. We're hopeful he'll be able to play this week, but you're thin at linebacker and whatnot. You know, JT Gear is still out, so you're a little bit thin on the defensive line. So you're thin everywhere. You got to be smart with how you are practicing, no question about it. But the way that we've gotten better the last 2 seasons as the year has gone on, it's a lot of reasons, but right at the top is the way that we practice throughout the week, in my opinion, because we practice really hard, really physical throughout the year, and we're going to have to continue to do that this season as well.
Hey, Shane.
Hey.
So you mentioned at the beginning of your opening statement that Furman's really good at forcing turnovers. The pick sixes, the interceptions, all of that. How do you prepare this wide receiver room and just the offensive line to deal with the fact that they're going to be exploiting opportunities to try and turn over the ball at home?
Yep. See, I like that. You've done your homework. You knew they had a pick six last week in their game, on the second play of the game, actually, against Tennessee Tech. One, we know that they're talented guys and they're a veteran group. You're not going to really be able to, show them anything that they haven't seen because they're really well coached and they're smart and they're good players. And then for us, we always talk every week, whether we're playing North Carolina, whether we're playing Furman, Georgia, Clemson, it's about us. And for us, it's just doing the things that we did. And last week we did well, didn't have any turnovers, and we did a good job of protecting the ball. And Spencer did a good job of making good decisions and things like that. And that'll be critical this week as well. And then our defense has to do a great job, of that as well. And Furman makes it tough because of the way they play defense. They're really disruptive, and they're a heavy pressure team. They're bringing pressure from everywhere. We've got to be really good with what we're calling, what we're asking our offensive line and the running backs and protection to do, because, they do a good job of coming from everywhere. And we've got to be smart with our protection. We've got to be able to run the ball. We've got to make good decisions with the football.
Yeah, with the linebacker position, if you don't mind touching on Pup Howard's health and if he's going to be able to play this week, and if not, and with Bam being hurt, can Stone and Devo keep going out there every play, or is there somebody else who's in the mix to maybe play a little bit?
That's a lot into one question, John. Let me see. First part, Pup, absolutely expect Pup to play. He could have played last week in Charlotte. We didn't have him really going on any special teams because he hadn't been practicing a lot, and we didn't want to throw him in there on a special team when he hadn't done a ton of practicing leading up to the game from a special team standpoint. Defensively, it just got to be one of those games. We wanted to get him in the game and get him some reps, but then Mo gets hurt and it was just, the game was kind of crazy, and the longer the game went, the less you want to put a guy in there for his first college reps ever at the linebacker position as the game went. And our defense did a better job of getting off the field in the second half than what they did in the first half, so he never got in there. But he could have gone, and fully expect to see him play this week. Bam, was that the other question? Bam, expect him to play. That'll help if he's able to go. And then Stone and Debo being able to continue that, probably not, just to be honest. I mean, they played, I think it was 70 plays plus that those guys played the other night. Not to mention Stone was on the kickoff team and the punt team. So he covered every kick, and then he also played defense as well. Now, Stone certainly could tell you he would do it and all that, but we don't want to have to ask our guys to play that many plays. That's a long season for sure, and we want to be smart with our guys, so we've got to continue to develop that depth, in that room. And we've got 4 solid guys. We got to keep them healthy, and then some of those young guys, Ronnie Porter and Andrew Colacerdo played special teams for us the other night and did a nice job. So those guys got to continue to come along. Jaron Willis is here. He needs to get better. Jamian Risher's a freshman that we brought in. He's got to continue to get better as we develop depth, because that's going to help us, because those linebackers are typically core special teams guys as well. Mo, he got hurt covering a kickoff and was one of our best kickoff coverage guys as well. So those guys are core special teams players, Debo, Stone, and we need the other guys to come along to be able to help us from that standpoint, and they will, I'm confident. All right. See y'all Saturday or Thursday night at Carolina Calls, right?